is it going? Hope you've had a good start of your week. Here, my school, St. Louis University, just started yesterday, so that seems to be going. Whoa, sorry, I'm trying to check out the chats on YouTube and I get ads. Yay! Alright, so great. I'm live finally. We got some viewers. Thank you for staying around. Alright. So I was checking out some of my old games per usual, and I wanted to share some experience that I had playing against Reti. So first move knight f3. I thought it would be interesting to just take a look at that because I don't think we've ever seen what to do against Reti, or just some of the ideas on how to respond, just some different ideas. Alright, so I really want to get to show you these games. I think both of them are from this one is 2017, yeah. I thought this was a little more recent. Well, never mind. So this game, I was black against a grandmaster, and this was in a tournament called Lugano 2017, which I thought was I did win the Lugano tournament 2017. That was a good tournament. It was good to win the full tournament because I keep getting like the best woman prize, the best second best woman prize, top 10, but this was one of the few opens that I actually won, which was pretty nice. Alright, so let me show you this game that happened. Alright, so knight f3. I know a lot of players start with knight f6, some players try with d5, a lot of players play c5, so there are different things that you can try. But right now, my favorite is still knight f6. And after g3, I like b6. I also like b5. I think I've shown a game from b5. I also intend to show b5 next week a little bit more about it. Not necessarily just against g3, but ideas that include b5 as black. So, reverse g4, right? Alright, so after g3, b6, bishop g2, you got to get a bishop out, and you kind of have two choices. You can try to get your bishop out from fianchetto, or you can try to get it out the other way. Well, there are other options too. You can try to, I feel like if you wanted to play this knight f6 g6, you probably would have done it earlier. Maybe just here you can just go for g6. So you don't really need to have this b6 out in order to play g6. But anyways, I'm a Nimzo-Indian player. I really wanted to continue down for Nimzo-Indian, so I just went for e6. Got the bishop out. As you can see, my opponent is a big fan of doing the bishop's fianchetto style, right? Alright, so I kind of want to take a second and ask the chat, what do you guys think is the next few move for black? So how do you think if you're gonna fight for the center? Most likely it's gonna be short castle, so what do you guys think? How are you gonna fight for the center? Are you gonna do c5 or d5 now? Oh, hello from Colombia. Nice, I have friends in Colombia. I think d5 is interesting, but I think d5 is, still kind of soon. Yeah, so I think we're between three moves basically. c5, d5, or short castle. So I think it kind of depends on how you want to play it. I want to try my best and be as tricky as possible, so I just went with c5, and then I just castled, and I'm waiting to see what my opponent's gonna do. If opponent plays d4, then I can choose to take, or I can choose to play d5, but if we played d5 early on, then we're kind of giving opponent a chance to want to take and potentially play d4, and now my bishop is kind of defensive. So that's kind of why I wanted to just try and see what the opponent does. Alright, so finally d5, take, d4. We get into the position that we were just talking about, but at least we're a little bit more prepared, right? So another question, in these type of positions, so what do you want to do with this knight? So how do you want to develop? Because I've played different versions of this openings. Like I've had few games that I played like I got to similar position like this. Some of them were with b3, some of them were with like the bishop was out on f4 and or g5 and with e3. So kind of just wanna get your opinion on how do you want to develop. Oh, we got someone from England. My brother lives in England. Yeah, I think knight c6 is good. Some people prefer knight d7 and they try to like do this style. But I haven't ran into too many problems playing knight c6. The only thing with knight c6 is that if take, well, I mean, you're kind of gonna take with the pawn anyways, so you would be dealing with the kind of like, it's not as stable pawn structure as you would like, but at the same time, these are mobile, so it's also quite dangerous for opponents, but also it's weaker for you, opponents can attack it, so yeah, exactly. Kind of interesting type of hanging pawns, because technically, I mean, you're not hanging the pawn just yet. But yeah, so you just have to be careful on how you are placing these pawns. Alright, so my opponent played rook c1, which I believe was the best move, especially because after rook c1, you're just kind of waiting and putting pressure on your opponent's pieces. Ooh, trying to get the knight to c5 would have been interesting, so let's just go back a second. Something like knight a6, I'm not the biggest fan of knight a6, just because, well, if you're doing knight a6 to get it to e6, then sure, I like it. But knight a6 by itself, for the idea of getting it to c5, well, you're not, I mean, he can just play e3, oops, he can just play e3. You're not going to take that to get the knight to c5, are you? Because then the knight takes, and this is a huge issue. So I think knight getting to c5 isn't as interesting of an idea, but if the knight could be on e6, I completely like that. Alright, so knight c6. Finally, we got this knight e4. We talked about knight e4 a little bit before, but we talked about it with knight d7, knight f6. But I think knight e4 is kind of just the best way that Black can try to take control of the center. Actually, I might have said this wrong. My opponent was higher rated than me, but he was not a grandmaster. I believe he was just an international master. Oops, my bad. But still, he was higher rated, so I'll take the pride of winning this game. Alright, anyways, my point was that I was playing someone who wasn't that much stronger than me, just he had higher rated, but we were, I mean, I didn't get out of the position, I didn't get out of the opening having a bad position. I had a pretty decent position having started with Black. So my idea was that I kind of just wanted to do my best to push as much as I can and provide some chances for my opponent to make mistakes, which I ended up achieving. But anyways, so after knight e4, if White makes the mistake of taking this knight, then we are gonna attack this pawn, right? So even if knight goes to d2, we can go here. This pawn is still under attack. If you were to play something like knight maybe e5, then I can just pick this up and my bishop is defending my pawn. So this would already be better for Black, right? So no, I wasn't trying to necessarily talk about how much the rating matters, whereas sometimes, I mean, if you are I try my best not to be influenced by my opponent's strength, but at the same time, if it's someone that is like much lower rated, then I might choose some move differently to. So that's one of the things that I've talked about in our chess and psychology courses previously as well. We talked about something like, okay, when you take something, like if I was going to take something in the center or take on c3, it would have been a little bit different because if there are like only moves on the board, then it might be harder for someone who is much lower rated to find them compared to someone who's like higher rated. So just something like just kind of like what to expect from the opponent, so I can predict what my opponent is going to do more efficiently. Anyways, so actually e3 here is also interesting, just to keep d4 defended. And you see, the thing is, if I were to take something like, if I were to take on d4, then the e would take back, and I mean, I still like the position black has with the knight on e4. The bishop is kind of blinded, so as long as I get this bishop out, then I kind of like this position. We'll see why not. What else can we think about? If not take, maybe bishop a6 is also interesting, forcing rook e1. Then maybe I can try to go jump around a little bit. But anyways, I don't think this is actually going to work. But it's just interesting to look at. So I think e3 would have been a move to definitely consider, because e3 would have like given me chances to wanna make mistake, and I think that's something White should have tried instead of just take, because after take, then now I basically have two choices. Either I gotta take this knight and then take the pawn, or if I take the pawn I lose this d5 pawn, so that's not a choice, right? I mean, it's not a very smart choice. Another idea that we could have tried is bishop f6, because now I'm pinning this knight, see? So you can't really take on d5, you're gonna lose this. You could take on e4, but after take over there, if you move your rook, then I can just, take here, attack this. Oops, not that way, this way. So as you can see, it would have caused some serious issues for white. But bishop f6 is interesting, but it's still not the most accurate, because white can simply play knight back to d2. Now this knight is defended, and it's I would have to take this with the knight, and as you can see, it's not that pleasant, right? So I mean, it's still doable. It's not like I couldn't play this, but it's not the most comfortable for black. This would be the most comfortable for black, and this is what I did. So now I have this d4 coming up, potentially trying to get the queen to the queen side, maybe the rook on d8. Now the position is kind of getting a nice flow. So he played queen d3. I assume queen d3 was to just get an idea on my king side, because my king side is lacking this knight, right? Maybe you want to bring up the rook. I think queen d3 was a smart choice. d4, gotta go back. I'm not entirely sure about bishop a1, because the bishop here is not going to be doing much, because of this pawn on d4. It's gonna just blinding you, right? So maybe it would have been more interesting to play bishop d2 and then just try to do something in the king side. I'm not saying that bishop d2 is like dangerous, and I would have started to like try to defend some stuff, but bishop d2 makes more sense to me than bishop b2. I think maybe bishop a1 was having some ideas with e3, but at least bishop d2 should have been considered. Yeah, I agree. Bishop d2, bishop f4. I think that's one of those ideas that is definitely interesting. Alright, so after bishop a1, I'm gonna take a second and ask you guys, what do you want to do? So black to move, how do you want to use this the space that you gained? Because if you give white few moves, white's gonna start playing some rook d1, some e3, and white's gonna just take care of your spatial advantage. Yeah, I do like the knight b4 idea. Anything else? E3 is not bad for black. The only thing is that E3 gives white more room to breathe. And we don't like hopeful opponents. We don't like opponents having chances to kind of mess with my center. So that's why we're hoping that we will eliminate these E3 ideas. So yes, I do like knight b4. I don't like queen c7 just because this is already giving me a little bit of oh boy style. Because I mean there isn't I don't see a threat right away, but you're not really stopping e3. So I think a5 is interesting. I assume you have the bishop a6 idea, but I think queen b6 is better than a5. So honestly, I'm between knight b4 or queen b6, between which two to choose. I think they're both just good, but maybe queen b6 a little bit more interesting just because I didn't do it in the game. I think that's why I feel like it's more interesting. Yeah, good. Very well said. Why not queen c7? All right, yeah. I think queen b6 is definitely worth considering. But anyways, I went with knight b4. I wanted to play aggressively after queen b1. Now what do you guys want to do? Because the queen on b1 is still queen b1 was pretty much the only move. I mean, you could try queen d2 as well to defend a2, but I think queen b1 was the best one, defending a2, staying out of the rook's ways. Maybe want to start doing stuff like this. So black to move. How do you want to follow after knight b4? Yep, thank you. Queen a5 seems quite interesting, right? Queen a5 is great. You could try something like f5 too, but I wasn't ready for f5. And I know I just said I wanted to play aggressively, but I feel like queen kind of belongs in the queen side. So let's play this queen a5 and make some issues over there, and we'll see how it goes. So now, white to move. What do you think is white's best move? Because if white doesn't do anything, white's just gonna lose this a2, and then the game is becoming quite easy for us. So white to move. What do you think white should do in this position? Keep in mind to take a look at the how to make candidate moves. We've talked about this quite a lot. Well, a4 is definitely a candidate move, but at the same time, a4 is weakening b3, so we're gonna play rook b8, we're gonna start doing stuff on that. But hold on, before we start thinking about a4, we gotta take a look at all of our candidate moves. So a4, yes, I think a4 is a candidate move. a3 is also a candidate move because if a3, there are some issues with taking. Ooh, I'm still not seeing anybody say this move. So let's see. How else can I give some tips without giving up the move? Maybe I look for defenseless pieces in the position. So in black position, which pieces are defenseless? Pretty much the two bishops, right? They're not really being defended by anything. So can you try and use stuff like that? Ooh, thank you. Exactly. Knight d4 would have been the best move for white. I kind of have to take over there. Knight f5. I can't really take on. I mean, I probably have to take on f1, but I was thinking maybe bishop g5 to attack this guy, but I can't really do that because simply king takes, take, and now g7 is a huge issue. Play f6, just knight's gonna go to e7, maybe. Then you gotta bring up the king, and this is going to be quite painful game. How about bishop takes f1? Can we play it? Can we not play it? Well, white's gonna definitely take here, and then white's gonna take that. White's gonna take that. If white takes that, what do you think about this? Do you like this position? Do you think this is good for black? Would you want to have this position as black? Pretty much whatever answer you give, you also gotta think about something like rook c4, because now h7 is a huge issue, right? You can't really stop that. Exactly. Queen h7 ideas are coming up. So it's kind of hard to try and stop those ideas. I mean, you can try with maybe h6, but there's still rook h4 and queen on b1 defending attacking everything. So yes, if white were to make a mistake and take on f1, then yes, I think with correct play, then black could get away with this. I mean, black could definitely save the king and enjoy the more material that black has right now. But if rook c4, then actually white is much better, almost winning. Like, you have to play f5, and this is already kind of like, oh boy. Alright, so in this position, that's why we could think about bishop g5, but that's still uncomfortable. I wouldn't really want to be an exchange up in this position. It's really hard to try and save this position. Alright, so knight to d4 would have been the best move for white. It would have created a lot of problems for us as black. And it's not like after knight takes d4, you can take it, but then the bishop takes on b7, and this guy is also weak. It's probably just going to go to e4, attack over here, attack that. Yeah, I don't really like this position, honestly. Alright, so knight d4 would have been the best move. My opponents didn't do that. He just went with a3. a4 was another idea that was mentioned, but now we can simply just play rook b8. Stop all of these knight d4s, because now this guy is defended, right? Or you can just go with rook e8. That serves the same purpose. No more knight f5s, because this is defended, right? a4 is weak. Yes, a4 would make white's position weaker, because now b3 is an issue. Why didn't my opponent take on d4? Was it just afraid? Well, the same reason nobody in the chat mentioned d4 when I asked. Well, there was one person who did mention it, but after, nobody saw it, just looking at it. I'm pretty sure he didn't see it, because, if he saw it, I think he would have done it, because there is nothing stopping it. When you see take on d4, as long as you notice the move and you start thinking about it, you're like, oh, okay, so I have some follow-up on e7. Maybe it's possible that after knight f5, knight takes e7, he didn't see rook c4, but I think rook c4 is kind of just like one of those moves that when you're attacking just comes to you. So knight d4 is definitely worth looking at, but a lot of the players just miss these kind of moves because, well, they're not looking for tactics, or when like a pawn is defended by another pawn, they automatically just kind of like ignore taking it. I think it's also something subconsciously that you're like, okay, so that pawn is defended, let's look for something else. Alright, so he went for a3. I took this a3, and now he did knight d4. I am not entirely sure why he didn't take knight d4 first, to answer your question better, but I'm assuming that he just thought that my queen on a5 was somehow bothering him more than it should. I'm not entirely sure why he didn't. So now, what do you guys think? Should we go for bishop g5 or should we take on f1? Is there anything different in this position compared to the previous one that they were just looking at. I wish all my opponents respected me so much that they never took any piece of mine. That would be great. Well, in the previous line, we didn't really have time to take queen takes a2. Because everything just happened take, take, take. So... well, if you think bishop g5, then maybe give me another move after that too. So let's say we went for bishop g5. Then what if I take king takes g2? I'm gonna take that, probably take with rook. This is still under attack, so maybe f6. Maybe rook e8. Yeah, I mean, I think bishop g5 is doable, but why not bishop f1? What is the issue with bishop f1? Can he play rook c4? What is the difference between having my queen on a5 with the pawn on a2 or my queen on a3? Is there anything different to your eyes? There is a slight difference. Now the queen is not only attacking, if the queen was on a5, the queen was just attacking the a2 pawn. But the queen on a3 is actually going after this a1 bishop. So we could try to figure something else with that. So now if it's black to move, if it's white to move, white's gonna take and play rook h4. So we gotta stop that. And the best way to stop that is with f5. Now if you simply take back, I am quite certain I can just take here and take that. I am 2 pieces up. I'm threatening mate. So this would be the way to go. Bishop takes g7 after f5. I mean, I can take that. Take just king h8, and you still can't really go anywhere. You're kind of out of checks. So f5 would have actually helped the position quite nicely. I mean, after take, there are still things to consider. White is still fighting the best that they can, because now we could try with like rook e8, and then potentially, I mean, if you still take, I will take here. And I'm taking on a1. So exactly, f5 is a must. So maybe bishop b2. So now you want to take there. Queen a2. Try to exchange the queens. And this endgame would have given white the best fighting chance, even though it might not necessarily look like it. I think it doesn't really matter where to go. I would go to d5 just because knight on c6 worries me a little. What if I'm gonna drop it? So I would definitely play knight d5. Maybe like go here or start attacking. Anyways, so now this endgame is a totally different story. But at least I'm not getting mated anymore, right? So that is what's different. That is why it would be best if white had his pawn on a2 instead of having given it up with a3. There was a question about now bishop g7. Well, bishop g7, I mean, I kind of have to take it. That's the only move. And what next? You can't really, I mean, your queen is not getting there. If you play queen f5, you're losing c1. So it's kind of hard to actually achieve anything, so giving that bishop up as well. Anyways, so in the game after king takes f1, what do you guys think we should do? So black to move, all of these rook c4 threats are still available, so you kind of have to play it accurately. So black to move, what should we do? Anybody wants to develop anything, retreat anything, play queen a2 to exchange queens? Yeah, I don't like rook e8 most of all. I believe I played it as well, yeah. I mean, I think queen a2 is also doable, but rook e8 is the easiest way to go. Yes, knight f5, now you play f6, defend your guys. Rook c5. Now, what do you think we should do? White is quite active. White's rook, if the rook gets to c7 now, you might be in some serious problems. So how do you want to try and defend that? So if it's white to move, I'm pretty sure white's going to try with rook c7. We didn't play rook fe. We played rook fe8 and not rook a because your rook on f8 wouldn't really have anything to do. So if you played the other rook to e8, then right now your rook would be on f8, and your rook isn't really attacking anything. It's not necessarily defending anything. So yeah, I see some rook c8s in the chat. Yep, rook c8, the easiest way. Fight for the file, stop rook c7s. Exactly. So in the game we went with rook c4. Now what do you think we should do? Do you think it's time to try and exchange queens? Do you want to take the rook? What do you want to do? Fragrance, you're also correct. I thought I answered your question about queen f5. I did mention queen c1, and yes, you're correct. Queen on c1 would be defending g5 in the position you are talking about. Is knight c2 crazy? A little bit. But let's take a look at it. So what is your idea with knight c2? Attacking here and you take, you're going to take that guy. Okay, I like that. If rook c2, I think you're still going to do the same idea. Alright, I like that. So the white's problem with your knight c2 is the bishop on a1, right? So what do we think about bishop b2? Alright, this takes, now that's defended, never mind. What do we think about bishop f6? If you take back, now white can simply take this and your king is becoming a new weakness, growing some weaknesses, right? Alright, so knight c2 would have been interesting if there wasn't a bishop f6, but careful with those little inaccuracies. I think rook c4 is good enough. Jesus. I think rook c4 is good enough. Oh, we're back. Alright. I stopped repeating myself. Actually, that was kind of interesting. If that's like that whole minute of me just repeating myself, I have a nice rhythm to it. Alright, well, thank you for staying around. This was, I have no idea what went wrong. Ah, well. Alright. So I was just talking about, I assume we couldn't finish talking about rook takes c4. So yeah, rook takes c4 will take, well, the queen is already on a2, so Yaroslav, I don't really know what you want to do with your queen, but we could simply just take on c4. Yeah, we can just take on c4 and just play queen c6, which, oops, that would be illegal, which is something that I missed after knight d6. I couldn't see queen c6 when I was thinking about it, so in this position, thinking about rook takes c4, I thought, okay, b takes, queen takes, knight d6, what am I going to do with my queen? So I didn't really see queen c6 with the idea of queen h1, so I didn't take rook takes c4, which is kind of sad. I simply played rook d8, because I also didn't want to take this and then not take this, because, well, I need to defend it, and knight d6 is also coming up. So I made the decision to play rook d8, which wasn't accurate. Now he got bishop d4, tried to bring them back to queen, and he started playing some real good moves like g4, g5 is like everything is just kind of starting to work out for white, but I have a pretty good move here. So black to move, what do you think it's this good move that I'm talking about? It's quite strange actually. Hold on, let me not um, give you some bad ideas. Alright, so let me just give you this little thing of the move that I played. After not taking rook takes c4, I realized, oh my god, I could have used that idea. So the move that I played has something to do with the idea. Queen d5 is not exactly the move that I'm talking about. So queen d5 would be like a follow-up move to the move that I'm talking about. Because queen d5, you're not really threatening anything. You can just play f3 or king g1 or who knows. So something that we have that, like, we're gonna keep that idea a little bit more hidden. So think about queen d5, but in a more tricky way. Like, what move can you do to try and provoke opponents into making a mistake? Nope. Nope. I see the rook e4s, but nope. Yes, exactly. Knight c6, best move. Excellent. Alright, so knight c6 you can't take because now queen d5, you're gonna lose your rook, or you're gonna get mated. So I finally saw this idea, just like 2 moves later than I should have. And after knight c6, he just played f3, which is good, stopped my queen d5 ideas, no more mate, right? But anywho, I get queen b5, I'm still attacking over here, attacking that, and finally we got rid of this annoying knight. And alright, so how do you want to continue now? What we got out of this position is, well, black definitely has advantage because this is a rook against a knight and a pawn, but that's not the biggest thing we got out of this. The biggest thing we got out of this position is this weak king, because this king is quite weak. I get my queen somewhere in the back rank, I get another rook, and voila, this game is already over. He cannot really attack my king, but I have the chance to attack white's king. Exactly, queen e5, great. He went for knight c6, queen a1 check. He went for king f2, rook d1. As I was just mentioning, we want to get the back rank. We centralized our queen. We got the queen to the back rank. Now we are attacking this poor king. In the game, he went for rook e4. So now, how do you guys want to continue? You want to exchange rooks? You want to throw in some checks? What do you want to do? I think hold on. No, you can't do rook g1 just yet. You're gonna get mated. Oof, careful. But yeah, I think rook f1 is good. I think just playing some like rook c8 would have been good enough too. Just putting more pressure. Just wanna do this in a little while. But I just went to rook f1 and rook g1. Now, how do you want to win this? The game is almost over. Just a few more moves. Maybe 97, but hold on, what do you guys want to do now? Well, I mean, I do like g5. I do like rook c8. I think g5 might have been a little hasty because g5 just king goes to f5, and now this king is actually getting kind of activated. So let's try with rook c8 first. Slowly, slowly. No need to rush it. So after rook c8, my opponent went ahead and played e3, which was a blunder. He should have played rook e7. Rook e7 would have been the most accurate. And in this position, because I'm also under attack, I can't really play g5 because the king just moves and h7 is under attack. But now I could simply try with something like potentially queen c1, try and exchange the queens. I would lose a7, but I'm going to pick up b3 soon, so it's not the end of the world. But another thing we could potentially try is maybe queen to e1 to want to try and throw in some checks there, maybe bring the queen to h4 to defend there. I think this would also be interesting. So anyways, he went for e3, but rook e7 would have been the strongest, and I would have actually had to spend more time figuring out what to do. So what do you guys think we should do? I found mate in 4. Well, actually, he could have played other moves, but I think that it wouldn't have really mattered as much. Still pretty over. So just try and tell me what you think is the best move. No, rook g4 is way too early. Rook g4, you don't have enough pieces. You would just give up your rook for nothing. Nope, I don't know. Why do you guys love rook g4? Am I missing something? Rook g4 doesn't work. Just take back, and you throw in the check. I'm just gonna play king back to g3. You don't have any other pieces to give me checkmate. Nope, it's a huge no to rook g4. Good that you're thinking about checks, but no, not rook g4. You could try g5, but the king goes to f5, and then you kind of have to figure out how to check the king from there. Let's see. Anybody else want to give it a try? Ah, you guys missed king can go to g3. Oh boy. Well, rook it's already on c8. f5. Whoa. I'm not really the biggest fan of f5. I mean, I guess it could work because you can't technically take it. There's queen f6. But it's not the best, it's not the most accurate. I mean, just rook goes to d4, and now I want to go the other way. You could try and bring in the queen, but the most accurate is rook c1. So, rook c1, the idea is quite simple. You move this queen, I'm gonna mate 2. g5, if you were to play king f5, now I also have rook c5. King e3, king e6 is pretty much the only move, and then you're losing this as well. So why didn't you guys mention rook c1? What were you afraid of? Because rook c1, least of all, you're picking up the knight. So I think rook c1 should have been the first thing you think about. Yes, rook g4 or g5 are worth considering, but this is something that I recently was assured by my team coach Alejandro, because he was doing streams for the club, and I was watching one of his streams, and he was like, if you can sit down and calculate like 10 move line and is there mate, is there not mate, or you can just eat material, why won't you eat the material? And I was like, thank you, that's been my chess philosophy so far. So I did mention that I found mate in 4, but I also said that it's not forced, so the opponent just could have taken here and it wouldn't have been mate, you know. So now, but now it's mate coming up. How do you guys think we can find that mate? It's mate in 5 at the most. Forced. Anybody wants to give a try on how to find this mate? Yep, exactly. Rook G1. Great. So after Rook G1, he just went for King H3, and how are we gonna mate? We have pretty nice mate coming up. Exactly, thank you. Queen E1. And you can't really, you can't really stop this Queen H4 mate. I mean, you can try to give me some checks, I guess, but that just feels a little, just forced. Just like, no, I'm gonna get mated, but I might as well give it some checks. I wouldn't really recommend that. But yeah, so I think this is, yeah, that's actually how the game went. He played Rook E7, hoping I wouldn't mate in 1, so he could mate me in 1. That was kind of interesting end, but I mean, I did the mate, and I ended up winning that tournament. I don't think this was the game that got me the title, but it was a very good game, and it was a very interesting tournament. I really liked winning opens. I should win more opens, right? Alright, I had another game prepared for you, but we got too deep in questioning, so I'm not gonna have enough time to go over that one. If I want to give the handle to Josh Friedel for his endgame class. Alright, well, I had a pretty fun hour with you guys. It was pretty fun. I missed this game. It was a beautiful game. I should play more games like this, right? Just like try to eat pieces and just end up mating opponent. Anyways, alright. Well, this was pretty fun. Thank you for joining me. I am gonna see you either on the Twitch channel or next week right back here. Have fun with other instructors. Alright, have a good week. See you, everybody.